Right now, somewhere in your body, a clock is ticking that you cannot feel. It speeds up when you are alone for too long. It is older than language, older than fire, older than the first word any human ever spoke. And the real reason it exists is far stranger than feeling sad on a quiet night. You think loneliness is an emotion. It is not. It is an alarm. Your brain treats being alone the same way it treats being hungry, or thirsty, or in pain. It is a biological signal, hardwired over millions of years, screaming a single message at you: get back to the group. Because for almost all of human history, being alone did not mean feeling a little down. It meant you were about to die. Think about your earliest ancestors. A single human on the open plains of Africa was nothing. No claws, no fur, no fangs, slow on two legs, weak compared to almost every predator around them. Alone, you were a meal. But inside a group, you were something else entirely. You were a wall of eyes watching for lions. You were shared food when your own hunt failed. You were warmth on a freezing night. The group was not a luxury. The group was your skin, your immune system, your second body. So evolution did something clever. It made separation hurt. This is the work of a scientist named John Cacioppo at the University of Chicago, who spent his entire career studying what loneliness actually does inside the human animal. He called himself a social neuroscientist, and he discovered something that changed how we understand the feeling completely. Loneliness, he argued, is not a weakness, it is a warning system. The same way thirst protects your body from dehydration, loneliness protects your body from the deadly danger of social isolation. The pain is the point. The pain is what kept your ancestors alive. And here is where it gets strange. Your brain does not have a separate system for social pain. It borrowed the one it already had, the one for physical injury. A researcher named Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA put people inside a brain scanner and had them play a simple online ball-tossing game. Then, secretly, the other players stopped throwing the ball to them. They were left out, excluded, ignored. And when she looked at their brains, the region that lit up was the same region that activates when you burn your hand or break a bone. Your brain processes rejection as a literal wound. When you say someone hurt your feelings, you are not speaking in metaphor. You are describing what your neurons are actually doing. This is why heartbreak feels like a physical blow to the chest.
This is why being excluded from a group chat can ache. Your brain cannot fully tell the difference between a broken arm and a broken bond. To the oldest parts of you, they are the same emergency. So what happens when the alarm never gets switched off? What happens when you are alone, not for a night, but for weeks, for months, for years? This is where the loneliness effect becomes terrifying, because chronic isolation does not just make you feel bad, it rewires you. Your body, convinced it is now living in a hostile and dangerous world, shifts into survival mode. Cacioppo found that lonely people sleep worse even when nothing is threatening them, because a brain that thinks it is alone on the plains keeps one eye open all night, scanning for the predator that is not there. Their blood pressure climbs, stress hormones rise, the body braces for an attack that never comes, day after day, until the bracing itself becomes the damage. A scientist named Steve Cole, also at UCLA, looked even deeper. He looked at the genes, and he found that loneliness changes which of your genes are switched on and off. In chronically isolated people, the genes that drive inflammation get turned up, while the genes that fight off viruses get turned down. Think about what that means. Your immune system, the thing meant to protect you, gets quietly reprogrammed by the feeling of being alone.
Cole called it a conserved transcriptional response to adversity. In plain terms, your body reads loneliness as a threat and prepares for a wound that is coming. It expects you to be attacked. It expects to bleed. This is not poetry. This is happening inside the cells of lonely people right now, and the cost adds up. A researcher named Julianne Holt-Lundstad gathered decades of studies, hundreds of thousands of people, and asked a brutal question. How much does loneliness shorten your life? The answer stunned even her. Chronic loneliness raises your risk of early death by a margin comparable to smoking around 15 cigarettes a day. Let that sit for a moment. The feeling of being alone is statistically as dangerous to your body as a serious smoking habit. We treat one as a public health crisis, the other we barely talk about. But why? Why would evolution build something this costly, this destructive into the human design? Because for your ancestors, the math always worked out. A brain that panicked about being alone, that couldn't sleep, that flooded with stress, that prepared its body for injury, was a brain that did everything possible to get back to the tribe fast. The discomfort was not a flaw. It was a feature so powerful it kept our entire species clustered together long enough to survive. The ones who felt the alarm and acted on it lived.
The ones who didn't vanished. You are the descendant of the anxious ones. The lonely ache you feel is your inheritance from every ancestor who could not stand to be apart. Now look at what we have built. We took a species engineered for the tribe, for the campfire, for the constant presence of other warm bodies, and we placed it into glass towers and single apartments and screens. You can go an entire day now without touching another human being. You can order food, work, shop, and fall asleep without a single person in the room. Your ancient alarm system is still running. It still expects the tribe. And when the tribe is not there, it does the only thing it knows how to do. It rings. This is why you can feel desperately lonely in a city of 10 million people. Numbers are not the cure. Your brain is not counting bodies. It is searching for connection, for the feeling of being truly seen and known by another mind. A crowd of strangers does not switch off the alarm. Sometimes it makes it louder. And there is a cruel twist hidden inside the loneliness effect. The longer you stay isolated, the harder it becomes to reconnect. Cacioppo found that chronic loneliness makes the brain hypervigilant to social threat. A lonely person scanning a room is more likely to read a neutral face as hostile, a quiet pause as rejection, an unanswered message as proof they are unwanted. The alarm, meant to push you back toward people, starts pushing you away from them. It makes you flinch from the very thing that would heal you. Loneliness, left alone, defends itself. You can see the most extreme version of this in solitary confinement. A psychiatrist named Stuart Gracian studied prisoners held in isolation, cut off from human contact for long stretches, and what he documented reads like a horror story. People began to hallucinate. They lost the ability to think clearly. Some heard voices, saw shapes, felt their sense of self dissolving. The human mind, deprived of other minds, does not simply wait quietly. It begins to break down. Because you are not a self-contained machine. You were built to run on other people. Take them away completely, and the software starts to corrupt. Even the famous experiments with infant monkeys, run decades ago by a psychologist named Harry Harlow, pointed to the same brutal truth. Baby monkeys raised in isolation, with no warmth, no touch, no other body to cling to, grew up profoundly broken, unable to connect, unable to function. The need for closeness was not learned. It was wired in from birth, and we share that wiring. The skin of a newborn human calms when it is held. The heart rate steadies. The stress hormones fall. We come into the world already addicted to each other. So what do you do with this?
You start by understanding what the feeling actually is. The next time loneliness rises in you, that hollow ache on a Sunday evening, that sting of being left out, that quiet panic of an empty apartment, recognize it for what it is. It is not proof that something is wrong with you. It is an ancient alarm, doing exactly the job it was built to do millions of years ago. It is your body, faithfully, stubbornly, reminding you that you were never meant to do this alone. It is not weakness. It is the oldest love letter your species ever wrote, telling you to go find your people. And the cure is rarely as far away as the alarm makes it feel. One real conversation, one person who truly listens, one moment of being genuinely seen. Cacioppo's research suggested that the quality of connection matters far more than the quantity. You do not need 100 friends. You need a few bonds that are real. The alarm does not ask for a crowd. It asks for belonging. So here is the strange clock again, the one ticking inside you that you cannot feel. It is not counting down to anything dark. It is counting the time since you last felt truly connected to another human being. And the moment you do, the moment someone reaches you, and you let them, that ancient alarm finally, gratefully, falls silent. Right now, somewhere in your body, that clock is ticking.
The only thing that ever stops it is another person.